Welcome to the quick steps for setting up a Mobiso server training video. After building your Mobiso system, there are a few steps that need to be taken before you can call into it. To start, point a web browser to your system. Please note that you will need to add the system into your DNS server, as you cannot connect to the web interface by the IP address, as the system will redirect you to the server name. The first time you connect, you'll get a warning stating that the connection is untrusted. You will want to go ahead and click I understand the risks, and then permanently store the certificate so you do not get this warning every time you connect to the system. In this video I'm using Firefox. If you are using Internet Explorer, you should have similar steps to install the certificate into the browser. The first time that you log in, the username is admin and the password is also admin. It is highly recommended that you change this password and that you also properly configure the email address associated with this account. This can be accomplished by clicking on the Account button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Here, you can update the first and last name on the account, the email address of the account, and the password. The email address is currently set to no-reply@localhost, and this is also showing a hazard icon indicating that there is invalid data in this field. This field will need to change to a valid email address before you can save the page. Update this to your email address. You will also need to enter the old password, which is admin, all lowercase. Now select a new password, which you will need to enter twice to confirm that the password was typed in correctly. The reason that you want to set the email address to your own is that if you forget the password for this account, you can have the password sent to the email address associated with this account. Certain actions such as CSV load or corporate directory rebuild have the option to email the results to the administrator. And finally, there are automated processes that will email administrators if there are issues that need to be investigated. After updating the administrator account, the next thing we'll want to do is proceed to the System Management, Licensing and Logging page to license the server. A newly installed system operates in an unlicensed mode that is unable to handle any phone calls. To get a license, copy both lines from the license key and send them in an email to your sales representative at Lyrics. In return, you will receive a license for your server that includes speech licensing and the number of seats that your system will be able to handle. Once you receive the license from your sales representative, save it to your desktop and then import the license through this page by clicking the Browse button in the System License section of the page. Browse to and select the license file and then click Save. This will install the license and restart the software. You will be notified that you need to log out of the admin interface upon completion of the license installation. Click OK to be logged out, and then you can log back in with your username and password. The next thing to do is to configure the system for a phone number that is pointing to the system. This assumes that within your PBX environment that you have a SIP trunk pointed to the Mobiso server. As you can see here, the system does not have any DNIS values assigned, and therefore any phone call that reaches this system will be dismissed. Only calls that match a DNIS value will be answered. To add a DNIS value, click the New button, double-click in the DNIS value field, and then enter the DNIS value that is assigned. In this case, I am only entering the extension. However, if your PBX is sending a full 10-digit value, you can enter that as well. Since there is only one application currently on the system, all numbers will only have the default application. Once a DNIS value has been assigned, you can call into the system to see that the Mobiso application picks up. At this point, you will not be able to do much more than say help to verify that speech recognition is working. To make the application more useful, you will need to go to the People page to import people into the system. The easiest way to import people into the system is via the Csv Import. There are template CSV files available at mobiso.com to help you get started in creating your data files. For additional information on CSV files, please refer to the Managing People and Departments with CSV Files training video. When importing a CSV file, you will need to identify if you are doing a load of a new file or an update to an existing file. You also have the option of having the results emailed to the administrator. Select your CSV file and then click Validate. The import is actually a two-step process. The first step will validate the file. The validation will check the file to ensure that it is a properly formatted employee's CSV file, and it will also perform field validation to ensure that fields contain valid data. After validation completes, the results of the validate will be presented on screen. The results will show how many records were processed and, if there were any issues, what record has the issue and details as to what the issue is. At this point, no data has been loaded or modified on the server. Only the file has been validated. This particular file does have a few issues, but I am going to ignore them for the moment. You can see here that this record has an illegal office extension due to illegal characters in the field. This file has 6 records total, however, only 4 records will be added to the system. Ideally, you would want to fix any issues in the CSV file before continuing to load the file. However, I'm just going to go ahead and click Load to have these 4 records loaded into the system. This can be verified by clicking the search button. And here are the 4 records. The search results will only return the first 100 results for a search. Anything more than that, and you will need to narrow down your search criteria. If I called in right now, the system would actually not recognize any names that I have loaded because I have not yet rebuilt the company directory. After adding, deleting, or updating employee records, it is necessary to rebuild the company directories. When editing an existing record, only changing the employee name requires a rebuild. If you are only changing a person's email address, phone number, or Find Me setting, a rebuild of the corporate directory is not required. To rebuild the directories, go to the Directory Management Company Directories page and click on the Rebuild button. This will initiate a rebuild of all company directories that you have and display the results of the rebuild. If there are any errors, such as your directory is larger than the size of your license, it would be displayed in the results of the rebuild. At this point, you should be able to call into the system, say a person's name, and hopefully you will be transferred to that person. If for some reason you are unable to transfer, you will need to configure the dialing rules for the system. In most cases, the default dialing rules should work. However, if for example, when dialing an outside number, you need to dial a 9 to get an external line, you will need to edit the external call and external transfer formats and add that in. The next thing that you will want to do is to configure the application to work how you would like it to. On the application page, you can see the name of the application and the Dienes values assigned to that application. Within this page, there are prompts, recognition, disambiguation, and other tabs. One of the things that you will want to do is to configure an operator number. If your operator number is not 0, go ahead and set this to what you dial to reach an operator. There is also a fail phone number that is used when too many errors occur within a single phone call. You might not want these types of issues to go to an operator and instead to a support desk. If the play phone number option is checked, the application will announce the phone number to the caller before transferring the call. You can change the welcome prompt, main prompt, and other prompts that get played during a call to increase or decrease the amount of information given to the callers. You can set your voicemail number on the Other tab. This will be used when callers ask for voicemail. Setting the operator number, prompts, and voicemail access number are the basic settings that you will want to modify for the application. Finally, we will want to go to the System Management Settings page and configure global settings for the system, such as call settings and disambiguation history. The default voice portal PIN is 757678 and is used when a user has to authenticate for the first time. The user will then be able to set their own PIN. The call settings on this page are global settings that will affect all applications. For additional information on these settings, please refer to the admin guide or the tenant premise settings training video. This concludes the quick steps to set up a Mobiso server training video.